double the trouble, double the fun. The movie we watched this week has Nicolas Cage playing two brothers. This week we watched Adaptation.
What do you say we cut the chit-chat? A-hole! I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire!
Interesting choice of words.
What is that? What is that? What is it? Oh, no, not the beak! Not the beak! Ah!
Oh my god.
I'm a pixie pear! Okay, let's run.
This is the unbearable fate of massive talent. I'm Brittany Green.
And I'm Liz Kurtzman.
And you held it together.
I did. I had the whole, I couldn't, the way Brittany said two brothers, we had to do like 3 takes. Because it made me laugh. But I'm very strong and I'm very brave and we made it through.
You're so powerful.
Thank you. 2002 Adaptation, directed by Spike Jonze. Jones?
It's not a hard name.
I don't think I've ever heard it said out loud. I've only ever read it. And it looks like it's spelled Jonze. Jonze?
But it's...
Jonesy?
It's Jones.
But it's Jones.
Spike Jonze. He was married to Karen O for a little while.
He was also, at the time that this film was made, Cage's in-law, because he was married to Sofia Coppola.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Cousin-in-law? I don't know.
Cousin-in-law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so he, he gets around, I guess. And also, screenplay written by Charlie Kaufman and Donald Kaufman.
Which is great. I didn't really know, because they list in the credits at the beginning that the screenplay is by Charlie Kaufman and Donald Kaufman. And I didn't realize until I was, reading later that, Donald Kaufman's not a real person.
That's not a real person. This is a crazy cast.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared, because obviously I've heard of this movie. I hadn't seen it before. You saw it 20 years ago.
Yeah. Not quite 20 years, but...
15, 16?
Yeah, probably 15.
Yeah. And so I didn't realize, I knew obviously that Nick Cage was in it, but I didn't realize Tilda Swinton, Meryl Streep, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Chris Cooper, Ron Livingston, Brian Cox.
Yeah.
So and they're all, a bunch of them are just 1 or 2 scenes, barely in it. But it's a really wild cast to watch going across the screen when it first starts. I was just like, and what? So yeah, and it's an incredibly nominated movie.
Yeah, won for Best Adapted Screenplay.
Yes.
Which is really fun.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the most meta movies that exists, because it's the movie about the screenwriter having a hard time to adapt this book, and then it has, both the author of the book and Charlie Kaufman himself kind of is in it as Nick Cage, or Nick Cage as Charlie Kaufman. And just all kinds of fun, goofy stuff. I'm curious, when we finished the movie, you said that this wasn't what you were expecting it to be.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of curious about, what you expected.
Yeah, because I knew it from probably trailers, but I don't even remember the trailers.
Right.
Mostly I just remember seeing the poster over and over again. And it's the pot of orchids and Nicolas Cage. And sometimes the pot of orchids is broken or fallen over or, his head. And so I thought it was, and I know it was sort of a dark comedy. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, and I knew he played twins. So I think that I thought it was sort of a, one twin is dark and one's good sort of thing. Or, one twin is, taking over the other's life.
Yeah.
And that's all I really knew. And that's not it. It's more the separation of the twins is more about, insecurity.
Right.
Versus confidence or...
Yeah, one of them is super anxiety filled and the other one is happy and filled with life.
Yes. Yeah. And so I thought that was interesting. I was trying to look up to see what the adaptation was
the book, The Orchid Thief?
No. I wanted to see who beat this movie for screenwriting.
Oh, I thought it won for screenwriting.
It did not.
Oh.
It was nominated. Do you know who did win the Oscar for this movie? Because there were 4 nominations.
I feel like it's a safe bet to guess Meryl Streep, but...
She was nominated, but she did not win.
Okay.
Chris Cooper.
Oh!
For Best Supporting Actor won
Good for
the
Chris
Oscar.
Cooper. He had some really good parts.
He had a really interesting character, a difficult character to play.
Yeah.
And to play him in a way that was, like, humane and not a caricature.
Right.
So I understand why he won. It is surprising that, like,
Out of
Streep,
everybody.
out of all of the nominations, that he was the one that got it. I'm trying to find, there's too many Oscars.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. Is Gosford Park, maybe? Is that who beat them? Come back later. But they also, like, I couldn't even list to you all of the nominations this movie had from just, like, Critics' Choice and BAFTAs and all that. They did win the BAFTA for the screenplay. Oh, also, supposedly, the rumor is Nick turned down Green Goblin to play this movie.
You know, I'm happy about that.
I also don't know if that's true. I've heard that rumor before. I don't know if he was offered it or was just in the running for it. You know?
Right. Nicolas Cage could play Green Goblin.
Yeah.
But Willem Dafoe could not play Charlie Kaufman.
I will say, I don't think that Nicolas Cage's Green Goblin would be as good as Willem Dafoe's.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, like he could, and I think Willem Dafoe could do this part and wouldn't be as good as Nick Cage.
Yeah.
He's done, I mean, in Green Goblin, he plays 2 characters, basically.
That's true. Which pair of twins are you gonna... And
which dark reflection?
You even said while we were watching it that you could believe that Donald was like a split personality.
I did. Well, because they also kept talking about multiple personalities. Right. And so I was like, if they hadn't shown Donald talking to people so much in this film, I would believe, like, I would have spent the whole movie being like, he's not real.
Yeah.
He's not a real person.
After you said that, I was kind of watching it that way, and I was like, probably not, but that's a fun thing to think about.
Absolutely. If they hadn't shown him at, like, the party and with Maggie Gyllenhaal, I would have been like, that is just 2 sides of his psyche. Mm-hmm. So, Nicolas Cage lost to Adrian Brody for the pianist.
Best actor.
And Chris Cooper won for Adaptation, and, I guess it was supporting role. Catherine Zeta-Jones won for Chicago.
Oh, okay.
And then, I don't know, we'll get back on this. The screenwriting is, like, at the bottom.
Control F.
Oh, here we go. What?
It's not an original screenplay.
Oh, it's an adaptation. Okay. Pianist won.
Dumb.
Which, I don't know.
As far as screenplays go, this is a better screenplay.
Right. Yeah, because The Pianist is a good movie, but it is a very sort of typical, like, straightforward story, historical story.
Usually
whereas this is, like,
is the one that really goes to the Stranger Things.
Yeah. Not the TV show, but...
No.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that one. I don't agree. Anyway. My 2 cents? No thank you. So Charlie Kaufman and Donald Kaufman were nominated for this. And
Good
they were
for
like...
Donald, you know?
Also, the movie's dedicated to him.
In memory of.
In memory of. How did you feel about... Let's start with just, like, the way that Nicolas Cage looked in this film.
Oh, man. Great.
Well, okay, so we talked about this.
The movie just actually starts with him sort of, like, describing how he feels about himself.
Yes. He always is talking about how he is balding and fat and disgusting and pathetic.
Yeah.
Like, all of his voiceovers bring that up. And what's fascinating to me, which is, like, those are insecurities that certainly men of that age have, and he's playing on that, but we looked up Charlie Kaufman, and he is a slight man with so much hair. And I was wondering if he did it to make it more universal, or if he's trying to distance himself as much as possible from this sort of fictional version of himself.
He certainly doesn't look anything like Nicolas Cage, even in normal life. But, yeah, he's got, like, the most ridiculous...
He looks a little bit more like Willem Dafoe. Between the two of them.
Between the two of them, sure.
Yes. Two, because
he doesn't look like either of them.
He doesn't look like either of them,
clear.
but Willem Dafoe is a slight man with a ton of hair.
Yeah. Yeah. He has like a really weird wig that is thinning, but it's like
a rough wig.
It's like a very curly.
It's not even curly. It's just frizzy.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like frizzy,
but also thin on the top.
But on the top, so thin, and also this like weird orangey blonde. Mm-hmm. It's not good. And okay, so I did tease this when we were watching the movie.
Yes.
He wears a fat suit in this film. Generally, I have a lot of feelings about fat suits. However,
this was like so unnecessary as a fat suit too. I felt like just because he's not like fat.
He's not like fat.
He's like a little flabby and
he's flabby. Looking. He's like a middle-aged, balding, flabby dude. And like wearing the fat suit seems silly. Can you guess? Because as I said, this is not a foam or latex fat suit, which is what they usually use. Can you guess what they used to sort of imitate the way that like fat actually moves?
Well, I guessed earlier human skin, and you said imagine. So I'm gonna imagine it's not human skin, probably.
It's more of what it's filled with.
Oh, is it like sort of like water balloony?
It's filled with beans and lentils.
Ew, what?
They wanted it to jiggle.
Okay.
Like fat, which again, I didn't even notice, really. Like, I guess.
There's really like one or two. There was one part where he was running and I could really see like his boobs kind of moving.
Yeah, yeah. Here's why this is so funny, though, is that it was obviously very hot and heavy because it's filled with beans.
What's the outside of it made out of if it's not?
That's probably latex.
Not human skin.
Not, well...
Human skin
maybe.
Filled with beans.
Human skin filled with beans. A nightmare beanie baby. Satan's beanie baby. Nick Cage sweated so much and got so hot that the lentils started to sprout.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
This is awful. It's the only fat suit that I'll support in film.
If you're gonna wear a fat suit, you better wear one filled with beans.
You gotta go full beans.
Full beans.
If you're gonna wear a fat suit, you gotta commit. You gotta grow a garden on your body.
So I wonder, so there's a couple of parts in the movie where he is sweating a lot.
Yeah.
And the first time that he's really self-conscious of it, he's meeting the Hollywood agent, or the Hollywood like producer lady, Tilda Swinton.
Yes.
And he's talking about sweating, and I was like, the beads on his face are too perfect.
Yeah.
Is that real? Or
the beads were from the beans.
I guess so.
That suggests that either that is how he was sweating in that, and they had to try and keep him dry the rest of the movie, or they gave him extra water in that one. Yeah. You know, like.
Yeah, the way it was super beaded.
It looked very realistic.
Yeah.
Maybe they just had him run around for a while in the fat suit,
yeah.
And then he sat down, and it was just, yeah. Another interesting thing that Nicolas Cage has said about this movie is that he ignored all of his instincts when playing this, and just did what the director said, and got a nomination for it. Which is interesting.
Maybe you should try doing what the director says more
This is why we said this before. He's got to have a director with a strong vision.
Yeah.
He's got to have a director who will either rein him in or give him, like, the parameters to go crazy and then cut him off. Because if he has one that, like, lets him go too much, then that's when you get some of his weirder performances.
Yeah.
And in this one, like, I mean...
I think he's great in this.
He's so good.
And it's pretty, like, there's nothing to complain about with this performance, I don't think. And I also think he does a great job of differentiating the twins. Mm-hmm. Because, like, there's just, like, even, like, their body language and stuff, Donald is so relaxed that half the time he's actually laying on the floor.
Yes.
Just so unbothered by anything.
I love Donald laying on the floor all the time.
I love Donald laying on the floor all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a really good example to point to of, like, Nicolas Cage can do naturalistic acting.
Yeah.
If he puts his mind to it. It's just not the thing he's super interested in.
Right.
Because we've seen it before with, like, Pig, you know? Or even Joe, which is, like, a little weird. Like, he gets to do a lot more character work in that one. But it's still a realistic
Yeah, there's
performance.
nothing weird about his performance in Joe.
Right. So, I don't know. I think that's just super interesting. Okay, so this movie starts with voiceover, as we said, basically laying out all his insecurities.
McEwen ate it. That's a little joke for those of you who did your homework and watched the movie.
A little joke for people who actually watched the film. I could be so much more annoying than I am.
Oh, yeah.
I have the power. I just am constantly holding back.
It just happened. Everyone just hung up on this podcast.
Yeah, everyone hit stop. They were like, well,
that's enough.
We're done. I loved that it showed behind the scene footage from Being John Malkovich.
Oh, yeah. That was so fun.
And then, but it had like, do you think that, this is maybe a stupid question, do you think that's actually behind the scene footage and then they put Nicolas Cage in it? Or did they have all those people come back to just do this behind the scene?
It didn't occur to me that it might not be actually behind the scenes of Being John Malkovich.
Yeah. I didn't either until right now, and then I was like, maybe I'm stupid. Maybe this was
They don't
shot for the
credit John
film.
Malkovich as a character in the movie.
No, they don't. It feels like, to me, it felt like a behind the scene footage, and then they just added on
Nicolas Cage.
because there's like a swipe of the camera that you could do an edit cut there.
Yeah.
But
I guess, like, they probably don't, like, throw away all of the John Malkovich masks after they're done filming it, right?
Right. But there is a scene later on the set of Being John Malkovich that is like a scene in this film.
Mm-hmm.
John Malkovich isn't in that one, though. And it's just, like, the set and Catherine Keener. So that one feels like they could have shot it later.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I thought that was really interesting because I was like, that, and then we went to the How Did I Get Here? And it went 4 billion years in the past. Which was just, I was sitting there going, what is this film? We have been all over the place. So we see, like, from Hollywood 4 billion years earlier, Big Bang, all the way through, like, the birth of a baby. It's very wild. Yeah.
One of my favorite things in this movie is halfway through when you start realizing that, oh, he's actually writing the movie that we've already seen so far.
Yes. Yeah, when he starts dictating the opening to the film that we just saw. It's such a, as you've said, this is such a meta film, and it's such a, like, I'm particularly fascinated by adaptations. Like, I took a whole class on it, and, like, that's one of the areas I did in my exams was on, like, adaptations of Gothic stories. And it is fascinating to me, like, the choices that you have to make to move something from one medium to another. And, like, what do you keep? What do you lose? Do you preserve the theme and then change everything else? Or so for me, I really appreciated seeing sort of, like, the struggle of it, especially as in this movie, he is a fairly successful screenwriter who is trying to adapt The Orchid Thief, which is, like, a best-selling book by this New Yorker author who is played in this movie by Meryl Streep. And the book is, like,
mostly about flowers.
Yeah, it's mostly like an it's flowers and then her sort of introspection about her life. And there's not really a plot, which is why he is struggling so much, because he doesn't want to add a plot.
Mm-hmm.
But
it sounds like it would be a really hard book to adapt into a movie.
I don't know why you would choose to adapt this into a movie. That's what I kept thinking. I was like, I'm sure it's good. Why would you try to adapt it? Like,
I feel like the way that you do it is that you still have to make it about her.
Mm-hmm.
But that sounds, like, straightforward and boring anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, the closest I can think to a movie that was sort of adapted like this one
Julie
is...
and Julia.
That one even has more plot, because you've got lives, like, you got people's lives who are, like, I was thinking of the Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. Did you ever see that adaptation?
Was that with Oprah?
Yeah.
I didn't see it, but I remember it.
It was a good adaptation, but it was one where it's like, it's not a narrative story.
Mm-hmm.
It is about this woman who is trying to, like, uncover the life of the woman who produced the HeLa cells. That,
right.
You know, really good book, mostly documentary style, nonfiction style, and then interspersed with this sort of story of this family. So the movie kind of does this, where it's about the author, like, it's going back and forth between the history and then, like, this author trying to convince the family to let her write about it and like write about them.
Sounds a little bit like Won't You Be... was the Mr. Rogers movie that wasn't a documentary that came out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I
That
guess
was,
that
like,
is
kind
sort of
mostly about the author, too.
interesting. Do you think that they all are following in the footsteps of Charlie Kaufman?
No.
All right.
Because none of those are like this, where it turns out that they've been writing the thing that you're watching the whole time.
Right. Yeah, you're right. But I'm also trying to think if there's any movies I can think of before Adaptation
this, where
that do
the
that.
author is like inserted into the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Hit us up on Instagram or whatever if you
Tell
can
us
think
which
of...
obvious thing that we're missing.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is one that someone is like, ugh, idiots. Ooh, I love Nicolas Cage's body language in this. Like, it's like he's trying to shrink in every scene that he's in. It's like he's trying to shrink himself. Is very effective. And it's just like totally gives you the like character.
He's just so anxiety ridden the whole time.
Yeah.
Like in the elevator when he's gone to the New Yorker's office and he's trying to get to the New Yorker to visit Susan Orlean, who is Meryl Streep's character.
Yeah.
And he can't get off the elevator, and then she actually ends up getting in the elevator but doesn't know who he is, and he's just like in the corner, and occasionally he'll be like start to try to say something and then like stares back at the floor.
Yeah, and she's uncomfortable because she can like feel this dude staring at her, and he is like in the corner just staring at her neck. Yeah. Yeah, like you said before, totally different body language for Donald, who is so relaxed that he is just like melting on the floor.
He takes up so much space at all times.
Yeah. And one of the interesting things, I don't remember the other actor who is the Kaufman stand-in, but his brother, Mark, also served as a stand-in for him in some of the
when
twin
they were doing
scenes.
the twin scenes.
Yeah.
He's the Coppola brother that is most built like Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
Of the two.
Yeah, because there's
We were
the
looking up
one we've
pictures
already
of them.
seen, whose name I forget. Christopher?
Yeah.
Christopher Coppola, whose movie Deadfall we've already covered.
And the other one.
Arsenal?
Yes, Arsenal. There you go.
He was in Arsenal. He has a cameo, and I
He's
remember
kinda
we
got,
talked
like, a
about
Steven Seagal vibe a little
he has a
bit.
Steven Seagal body for sure, and then also the glasses. I think he wears like the round sunglasses in a lot of the pictures we saw. Just like I remember we saw him on screen, and we were both like, "That's Nicolas Cage's
Doesn't
brother?"
look anything like him.
Nothing like him. It was wild. But yeah, so his other brother stands in for him. And then we've got... Oh, okay. So I want to talk about Brian Cox. So I have to back up. So Donald is sort of just...
he wants to be a
he's sort of
screenwriter.
dead weight, I think, at the beginning. He doesn't have a job, and he's just living with his brother. And he is just like, I think I'm going to become a screenwriter. And of course, there's, Charlie, who is this anxiety. He's high anxiety, but he's also like an intellectual.
And he's kind of a downer. He's kind of a naysayer.
Huge downer.
Super negative all the time.
Yes. And so he's very much like, screenwriting's pretty hard, and like, you have to study for a long time to do it. And he's like, it's cool, I'm signing up for a seminar.
He's like, workshops are all a piece of crap, rip off.
Yes. And then you'll just do the same thing that everyone else does if you follow that. And so the seminar is by
McKee. John McKee?
No. What is his name? Robert McKee? Robert McKee?
I looked him up.
Yeah, we looked him up multiple
He's a real
times.
person.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's fascinating because he is a real person. He is famous for writing books about screenwriting and teaching seminars about screenwriting, but has never... Robert McKee. Never actually produced a screenplay.
That has been made.
Which is interesting, You know what they say.
Well, I feel like that really
teach.
reminded me of this podcast that you've gotten me turned on to, and the advice of all of these self-help guys is like, teach classes.
Yes.
Here's how you become an expert.
Yeah, here's how you make money, is convince
you sound
other people.
confident, you know a little bit about something that a lot of people don't know about.
Yes. Yeah, it's If Books Could Kill.
Yeah.
High recommend. Love that podcast. And oftentimes the grift is to the self-help books. It's like telling people to write self-help books or seminars because that's how they got rich. And of course, like that doesn't, you can't do that forever. Everyone can't do that. But one of the funniest things is we were like, oh, he's a real person. And I read that that Robert requested Brian Cox play him in the film. And then we looked him up, and he looks just like Brian Cox.
He really does.
We said, okay, good choice.
Yeah.
And it's just like a classic Brian Cox yelling at people role, which I love.
Yeah.
I have no notes about that. He's
there was
incredible.
a couple of people, like Chris Cooper keeps asking who's going to play him.
Yes.
Who would play you?
Me?
Yeah.
Ooh. That's a good question. Oh. I would like... Okay, here's one. Aidy Bryant. I feel like...
Oh, yeah.
I feel like she could be a good me, you know? I don't know if I have any of the others off the top of my head. Do you know who would play you?
No, I just wanted to ask you.
Well, now you have to
I do
answer.
have to ask.
That's not fair.
It's not fair. Who
Barry
could play
Keoghan.
me? I don't even know who that is.
The guy from Saltburn.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he can do anything.
He can do anything he wants.
Obviously, Nicolas Cage.
Yes, we both obviously want to be... Here's what... Nicolas Cage will play you, Willem Dafoe will play me.
Excellent.
We solved it. Yeah, write in. Who do you think would play each of us? Would love to know.
Who do you want to play you?
Yeah.
I want to know. Give me the side-by-side picture of you and the actor you want to have play you.
Yeah.
Nothing interesting enough has happened in my life. I don't think that.
I know. I'm like generally trying to think of
a movie
like
about me would probably be kind of bad.
I'm trying to think of someone who's funny because like I'm a
that's
little
your charm.
funny and my life's pretty boring, so you'd need a comedian to make it, you know, entertaining. Which is why I went with Aidy Bryant. But I also feel like, you know, you could put Kate McKinnon in any role to make it interesting.
Oh yeah, she's always doing wild stuff.
She's always gonna find something. Yeah.
I think your face is closer to Kate McKinnon's face than Aidy Bryant's face.
Okay, alright. I'll take that. I'm more concerned, you know, with the energy.
Yeah.
Trying to capture the energy of me.
You need the rye.
Who could capture my energy?
Who?
Ryan Gosling.
Perfect. You both have that wry sense of humor.
We both have a very
dry,
deadpan sense of humor and also like creepy stuff. Yeah. So and we also love musicals. So I think
that's perfect. And
he loves the Muppets. So there we go.
I love that. I mean, I just saw Poor Things. And I think Emma Stone has more range than I had previously given her credit for.
Oh, she's great.
She's so good.
She's great.
And I liked her before too, but
but yeah,
I don't think you need a lot of range to play me, but I still want an actor that has the goods, you know.
Yeah, I think Emma Stone would make an excellent you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of the... I haven't seen the actual show that it is, but have you seen her on that Nathan Fielder show?
I watched 2 episodes of it, and I haven't continued it because I heard that it was like a horror show, and maybe it does become horror, but let me tell you, the first 2 episodes are just cringe.
Yeah.
Are just
That's what
really
Nathan Fielder
uncomfortable,
does.
which is what Nathan Fielder does. And what Safdie does. Yeah. And so it's not surprising, but it's like not generally my thing. So I
turned it off.
Yeah, I haven't continued it. I took a break to watch Fargo. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
She's too old to play me at this point in my life, but maybe sometime in the future, if she stops aging and I continue, Frances McDormand.
Oh, excellent.
Is one of my favorites.
Excellent. Oh, she'd be so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Speaking of Fargo.
She stops aging and I continue.
When she stops aging and you keep aging and you guys meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Perfect.
She's got a lot of money, so I feel like she's got more power to stop aging than I do.
Yes, yeah.
So.
I felt, when I watched Poor Things, I felt very seen in the character of the old woman on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's me. That's me. And like
She was my favorite.
she's so good. And the part
I guess
where
this is a plug for Poor Things now.
this is a plug for all the things we've been watching lately. But the part where she's like, "Oh, I've always wanted to be murdered." Like, I loved it.
Oh, God. I have so much I can say about that movie.
Yeah, we're not going to give you any more because you should just
Adaptation.
go see it. Anyway, Adaptation, another great film that we recently watched.
Literally. We've been doing the podcast for 30 minutes, and so we finished watching Adaptation about 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, we watched it 35 minutes ago. Yeah, so we started on this, and then we got sidetracked, but the two brothers have these sort of like different approaches to life, right? And which is part of the reason that to me it sort of felt like one psyche split in two. Because like Donald is kind of
He's a himbo.
he's a dim bulb. He's a
He's a what?
A dim bulb.
Oh, a dim bulb.
Yeah.
I thought you were inventing a new version of himbo that was like a dimbo.
A dimbo!
And I was like, aren't himbos already kind of dim? But
as they get older and they become dads, they become dimbos. And moms who were bimbos become bimbos. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
I feel like Donald shines very brightly. He's just not that smart.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. The brain is the bulb.
Yeah. But
he's
he's
not,
such
like,
a shining star.
He's not.
And apparently he's not that dumb. People liked his screenplay.
That's the thing, is like people liked his screenplay, which I think is more commentary on Hollywood, because it is like a super cliched plot. And also, here's something very funny. So his screenplay is called 3. And the whole conceit of it is that there's like a cop chasing this serial killer who has this woman trapped in his basement, and then like the reveal at the end is they're all the same person and they have split personality disorder, which is Charlie said, he's like, how are you supposed to depict that on screen? It works much better in like a book where you're not actually, you just have to rely on the narrator. But this was like bothering me because when they were describing it, I was like, I feel like I've seen that movie. And then in the facts, it was like, there's actually a movie called 3, but like the E is a backwards 3. From 2006, based on the Ted Dekker novel, that has basically the same, like,
and
plot.
it came out a few years later.
It came out later, and I never saw the movie. I read the book back when I was like in high school.
Do you think Charlie Kaufman was like talking to that screenwriter? Like, how the fuck do you even do that?
Oh God, I hope. I hope that he had like a boring conversation with him at a party, and that's why he's in the film. I don't know when the book was written. It was a book that when I was in high school I thought was really good, and I know later, because Ted Dekker's work is not good, that it was probably not a good book. But now I want to watch the movie to see how they did it.
Me too.
We should watch it. It's probably terrible.
All right.
Let's do it. Sorry guys, we have to go. We have to go watch a movie.
We're gonna go watch the 3.
See it in an hour, 2 hours. Yeah, so we've got so an interesting thing happens with this movie in that because it is a collaboration between the two brothers. About halfway through the film, Charlie agrees to let Donald help him write, or asks Donald to help him write this screenplay that he's really struggling with. And at that point,
it changes genres.
The movie changes genres, and it turns into this thriller with all these cliches. And Susan, who has been up to this point, this like very sort of complicated middle-aged woman who is sort of struggling with not having a passion, or having lost passion in her life, and like sort of not being happy in her marriage. She turns into this like drug addled.
She's in love with Chris Cooper's character. They're having a saucy affair.
So the brothers follow her because like the tone is not just like the scenes from the movie, it's also like the movie has changed. So the brothers are chasing her down to Florida, where she's like secretly meeting up with Chris Cooper's, what's his character's name? LaRoche. And I also feel like LaRoche's hair got better after the switch. Did you notice that?
Huh.
It seemed like less greasy after like...
He became like a romantic lead.
Yeah. And so then, the brothers see them doing like this made up green drug from the orchids, and having an affair. And so then they are trying to kill the brothers in the swamp, and they shoot Donald in the arm. And as they're running away, the Roche starts to give like a dramatic speech, and a gator just grabs him and starts death rolling him in the middle of his speech. And then the brothers are running away and get in the car, and they get hit by a truck, and Donald flies out of the window and dies. And
it's very sad.
And yeah, it's very sad.
I felt like the car thing felt a little bit like a callback to how LaRoche's wife and family
It was
died.
Absolutely. I think it was supposed to be like Donald ripping that off, or trying to like make symmetry or something,
right,
in the story, because it happens almost like, so there's a point earlier in the book that he's adapting, and he's describing, and there's a scene we see LaRoche is like missing his front teeth, and he's sort of greasy, and he's got like a ponytail, and her rich New Yorker friends had laughed about like him not having his teeth, and like, why wouldn't you ever get them replaced? And then she's talking to him about, to LaRoche, about the nursery he used to own, and he tells her the story about how he had opened this nursery with his wife. He loved it. Things were looking really good for him. And then he gets T-boned, backing out of the driveway, and his uncle's killed, his mom is injured, and
she's killed too.
She's killed. And then
his wife is in a coma.
His wife's in a coma.
And that's how he gets his teeth knocked out.
And he lost his teeth, and I was like, what a sad reveal.
Yeah.
After that, like, moment of, it's really well done to like have that moment.
Generally, like, the assumption should be that if you have some kind of physical deformity, like all of your front teeth being missing, it probably is from something sad.
I mean, it's gonna be sad whether it's like a health thing or like you couldn't afford dental care, or you were in an accident. It's sad, and like, them making fun of him for it was just like such a
really kind of heartless.
Yeah, which is why you see when she like goes to the bathroom, you can kind of tell that she feels uncomfortable about it.
Yeah.
But also doesn't stop them or tell them like not, change the subject or anything. But yeah, so at the end when they get hit,
unless
they get
you're an
T-boned.
NHL hockey player, like,
right. Unless you're like a boxer, even then it's pretty sad if you've lost your teeth. Both of those professions, you probably also have brain damage, so
probably
it's still sad. Especially if you don't have the money to like get filling or.
Well, that's like the thing is if you're a pro boxer or a pro NHL person, you probably do have the money. I think half the time the hockey players just leave them out when they're on the ice for the clout.
Yeah. You don't want to lose them. You don't want them to get knocked out of your mouth.
Exactly.
Come on, it's practical. But yeah, that crash at the end, I think, is supposed to parallel his crash. And there's actually like a really sad moment when Donald is dying, when Charlie starts singing "Happy Together."
Yeah, which is Donald had sung to him earlier when he was figuring out that Susan and LaRoche were having an affair.
Yeah. And then he has to like tell his mom, and then it gets like, again, very meta at the end when he is like describing the ending of the film, and it is like what we're watching. He's like, Kaufman drives away smiling because he's finished the screenplay and blah, 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 blah. And that's how it ends. Yeah. So
I also love to McKee, when he goes to his seminar, is always talking about Casablanca. And like Donald is talking about Casablanca because McKee is talking about Casablanca. And he has the moment with Amelia, the woman that he was kind of seeing, where like they have their like they part ways because they can't be together moment, which is like kind of like the ending of Casablanca. And they kiss,
and she's like, "But I'm with someone," and he's like, "That's okay, I love you," and she's like, "I love you too," and they go, and they leave, and it's very like, "Here's looking at you, kid," kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, and then also I had a really good laugh at the end because, like we said, there's this running joke of like, who's gonna play me in the film? And he's like, who would play me in the film? And he says, maybe Gerard Depardieu, if he can go without the accent. And I'm like, that's all he is accent. Like, French accent is his entire thing. So imagining him going without it is very funny to me. Yeah, and then that is...
Also, talk about a way that we can get further away from Charlie Kaufman.
Oh my god, to have a wide blonde Frenchman play him. Because, like, Gerard Depardieu is wide. I don't know how else to explain it. He's got a wide head. He's got a wide body. Like, big hair. Big nose. Like, everything about him is just wide.
And then, again, Charlie Kaufman, slim.
Teeny tiny man.
Slim little.
Short king.
Yep.
Yeah, he's like, when I was looking him up, it did say that he was 5'4".
Oh, he's so small.
He's so small. His hair is bigger than him.
Yes.
Yeah, so that is Adaptation. Very well received.
What'd you think?
I really liked it. I thought, and like, here's the thing is at the beginning it was very meta, and I was like, this is cool. And it starts to get a little old, and then when it switches to Donald, and it's suddenly
it's fresh again. It needed something. It needed the Donald.
It was fresh, but it's also showing you, like, the different sort of things that happen when people adapt stories, and, like, how just changing who the author is changes so much of the story and the tone of the film. I think
it's really fun.
So I think that was a really clever, not just to make it meta, but to do that made it, like, an extra level up.
Yeah, and I love this movie.
I do think that it is a major crime that this did not win the screenplay that year.
So you know what was generally well received. What do you want to guess is the Rotten Tomato scores?
It's a little weird, so I'm gonna guess that not everyone liked it. I'm gonna guess it's like at 88%.
That's really close. The critic score is 90.
Yeah, okay.
And the audience score is 85, so you're really splitting the difference.
All right. I'll be honest, the audience score is higher than I thought.
Yeah.
But maybe
weird.
Maybe that's because, because often this is the sort of movie, if people didn't know anything about it, I could imagine them just being like, this is too weird.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't like him. He's weird and awkward. So yeah, I'm a little surprised that it was that high, but good for them. It deserves it.
You have any more fun facts for us?
I don't. Oh, like we said before, this movie is dedicated to the memory of Donald Kaufman, which I think is very funny. I don't know if I have any more. There's just like a ton of screenmaking facts about this film. One of my favorites is that Susan Orlean, the real Susan Orlean, and first, she did not want this movie to be made. They sent her the script, and she was like, this is not me.
Heavens, no.
Right. She was just like, I just said that. And then, they were like, this isn't Charlie Kaufman either, like, to be clear. And so then she and Charlie Kaufman only met, like, twice. And once was during the filming of the movie, and once was after, like, I think at the premiere, probably. And during the filming of the premiere, she was like, this is, like, very embarrassing for me to, like, watch me being played as this, like, sort of, person that I'm not. And Charlie Kaufman was just like, how do you think I feel? Which I think is fair, because he is definitely portrayed a lot worse than she is. And until the halfway point, she's portrayed pretty normally, and she's portrayed by Meryl Streep, which is, what a fucking dream. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. Meryl Streep also said this was, like, the best screenplay she's ever received.
Love that.
Yeah, like, when she got it, she was just like, absolutely sign me up. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of really interesting facts, but it's more stuff about, like, the making of and process. And a lot of the people, are based on real people. Like, Ron Livingston's character is based on Charlie Kaufman's agent, which is very strange. But yeah.
Great.
Oh, one more thing. The flower and the time-lapse sequence at the end of the movie that we see, when I saw it, I was like, why not an orchid instead of these, like, daisies? Those flowers are called Amelias.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool.
That is a good fact.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
Yeah.
I think it's time for
Inside the Cage.
We're twins.
We're twins. Get it?
Get it?
There's two of us. Okay, so very interesting little teaser came out on the internet yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Yesterday. Neon, which is a production studio, they're very similar in many ways to A24. They do a lot of sort of artsy
I've seen some
horror.
great Neon movies.
Oh, Possessor is a Neon movie. I love that movie, and I highly recommend it. Infinity Pool is another one. I haven't seen that one yet.
I haven't seen that one either. I remember they did, oh my god, of course my mind is gonna go completely blank.
Uh-huh.
But,
The one with the stuff?
the one with the not Elizabeth Olsen. Not Dakota Fanning. What's her younger sister's name?
Elle Fanning.
Elle Fanning.
Neon Demon?
Neon Demon. Wasn't
That
that
one's
a Neon
wild.
movie?
I think so.
I loved that.
Oh, I think John Wick is a Neon film.
Oh, that would make sense.
Maybe the Old Boy remake too?
That also makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like they have like a lot of horror and a lot of action.
Yes, and it's a lot of sort of artsy, impressionistic, weird stuff, which is what I love. So highly recommend. The one they just had come out is Ferrari.
And Eileen, which I want to
And
see.
I believe Self-Reliance is another one that's going to be coming out.
Oh, I want to see that so bad.
Me too. So yeah, they do a lot of horror movies. They just released this strange little teaser trailer yesterday. It didn't say what it was for. It did have a title, but it's in sort of like cryptic, I don't know.
Yeah, what was the name
Scribbling?
of the video?
So this one is, what is the name of, hold on, let me actually click over to it because that, the name of it is Every Year There Is Another. Is the name of the teaser, which is only 36 seconds long.
Pig was a Neon movie.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Released by Neon, and it's got a voiceover that maybe is Nick Cage.
Definitely.
I'm not sure yet. I think so, but and so it's just like a picture of a family while there's a 911 voice call over it, and then at the end you see this sort of like creepy image of like very long girls' legs, like they're too long. And so people have assumed that this is a teaser trailer for Long Legs, which is the horror film that Nicolas Cage and Micah Monroe are going to be in. That's going to be directed by Oz Perkins. Hopefully, people are thinking it's going to start showing this year at maybe at Sundance or South by Southwest, at some of the film festivals. But there's no solid information yet. I'm very excited. Oz Perkins, he is, besides being the son of Psycho star Anthony Perkins, is very well known for doing artsy horror films. He did I'm the Pretty Thing Who Lives in the House, The Blackcoat's Daughter, and Greta and Hansel. I haven't seen Greta and Hansel. I saw the other two. Horror people are going to get mad at me for saying this. I don't love them as much as a lot of people do, but they're beautiful films. Like, it's very, I mean, it's just art. It's the cinematography and the music and everything. For me, it sort of falls apart as it doesn't feel like enough of a story, feels more like impressions. And he's so good at creating a vibe. But I'm really interested to see this one, especially because of the cast.
This weird little teaser that people think is about this movie is very creepy, and I love it a lot.
Yes, he's so good at that. Like, I'm the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, if you just watch it as, like, visual poetry, perfect. It's very good. It's got a lot of creepy moments. It's got, gorgeous cinematography. The ending, I was sort of like, what was that? But I highly recommend checking them out. Blackcoat's Daughter is a favorite among horror people, especially indie horror people.
Okay,
so,
cool.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll get more information about that. But check out that teaser trailer; it's very cool.
Yeah, watch it.
Watch it.
All right, we have no idea once again what our next movie is going to be.
Yeah.
Probably something brand new.
Yeah, I think,
Not like brand new as in a new movie, but we're
brand
probably
new
going to go
movie
in a
that we
different
made.
direction. We're making a Nicolas Cage movie.
He's here right now. Yeah, because you rightly said that this movie would be a good
to Dream Scenario a little bit.
Yes, yeah, this is a good companion piece to Dream Scenario, and I think absolutely. But yeah, now we'll see where our whim takes us for our next film.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it.
All right. Stay cagey. Bye.